Hi everyone, how are you doing this week? Yes, I'm still in Florida, in nice warm Florida. So, visiting my mom's, very having a lot of fun. So, anyhow, let's go ahead and get going. We're talking today about motivation, and the question that I asked is, do you have the key to unlock your motivation? So let's go get going. All right. So a lot of people talk about motivation as a personality trait. You either have it or you don't. You either have it or you're lazy. That type of thing. And really, that's not the case. So let's go ahead and get into this a little bit more. So, if a person is forced to deal with a lot of stress and they don't have the techniques that they need to pull them out of that stress, then this can actually cause the motivation to either flicker or go, extinguish altogether. So, let's think about an example of somebody at work. When somebody is at work, and let's say they just don't, they don't like their hours or they don't like their boss, they don't like what they're doing, their workload, whatever it may be that's causing that stress. Well, everything about work is actually hindering them, including even getting a paycheck could actually bring up stress for them. So when this is happening, they're kind of pushing through their day, and they're just trying to get through the day so that they can get home. But the problem is that they're depleting their inner battery, and when they get home, that battery is just completely shot. It's down to 0%. And they end up having absolutely no motivation whatsoever. This is not a lazy person. This is somebody whose stress has put them to the point where they actually have no motivation at all, and the stress is getting in the way of them, meeting their goals for life. So, and there is a definite link between stress and motivation, especially when self-esteem and confidence has been affected. And a lot of times that's happening when it's affected by work. So if you do lack motivation and you're in that low mood type area that we talked about last week, well, you're oh, I am so sorry. You're not alone, because I've been there definitely before. I would come home from work completely depleted. Did not know how to re-energize myself in the during work, which is when you need to be re-energizing, because once you get down to that below 20% inner battery, it's really really hard to motivate yourself to do anything about re-energizing yourself. So the key is really having the strategies while the stress is going on, and that's what I didn't have. And because I didn't have those strategies in place, I would come home completely depleted. I would know that just walking down to see my horses would uplift me, but I just didn't have the motivation to do it. And my husband would have to force me to go down and see my horses. And once I was down there, I mean, amazing. They were able to refill my batteries really quickly, which was really nice. And so I did have a strategy once I got home. And if my husband could convince me to get down there, I had this one horse. His name was Danny. Oh my gosh. I would walk up to him and I would just, put my arms around him and give him a huge hug. He would take his nose behind my back and just pull me towards him like he was hugging me. And it would just, I can't even tell you the feeling that Danny Boy would give me. So, um, but finding Quantum University and finding Heart Math has really helped me a lot, because I still have a lot of stressors in my day. Owning your own businesses are very stressful, but I don't find myself in that position. I'm constantly able to do things that are helping myself. So one of the other things that motivation gets affected by is depression. I'm sure we kind of all know that. You can go from stress to a mood disorder like depression, and then depression will definitely affect motivation big time. And we really want to try and catch it before you enter into a low mood, not a low mood, but we want to catch it before you enter into a mood disorder. So we want to catch it at the low mood stage, right? At the beginning, which we talked about in the last couple of weeks. So some of the symptoms, we've talked about this when I was talking about how overwhelmed I was when I finally got home because I was at a 0% battery. You can't even make a decision. Like, my husband would ask, what do you want for dinner? It's like, are you kidding me? I've made so many decisions today. I can't even think about that. It was overwhelming just to even go there. And you have no idea what you want because in a lot of areas, not just food. So the other thing is physical health. I was not making good decisions for my health. I had gained almost 55 pounds. I've lost 40. I still have 15 more to go, but I had completely lost control of my health, and that's something that you definitely need to be looking at. That's an indication of stress, and if you're also low motivated, you now know why. It's because of the stress and what's happening there. When low motivation becomes part of your identity, if you're just saying, "Oh, I'm just lazy," so procrastination. That's another indication. So I'm just a procrastinator. I used to procrastinate all the time, and I always just thought that was part of my, personality, and really, it's not because today, because I'm managing my stress, I don't procrastinate on very many things. Yeah, I'll procrastinate on some things. I'm human, I don't really want to do X, Y, Z. So let's not look at that right now. So, those things happen. But the other thing that is happening is a lack of ambition. If you're experiencing a lack of ambition, I had tons of ambition when I worked for Boeing at Mesa. I absolutely loved my job. I loved who I reported to, loved what I was doing. And when I actually moved to Denver, I first loved it. And then I ended up getting a boss that I didn't really get along with, didn't like very much. And my ambition went to zero. That was a pure indication right there of low motivation and stress. So, and I also felt very lost. I didn't know what to do about it. Just because I didn't have the techniques, and I needed the techniques at work, not once I got home, because I used to really want my career to improve, but with the stress and the going to the lack of motivation, it just wasn't happening. So, and it's because I didn't have the techniques in the moment. I only had the techniques once I got home, which was, again, my horses. So one thing that's going on that's causing this low motivation is the things that are happening in your body due to stress. One of them is your neurotransmitters. Your neurotransmitters are responsible. They're the chemicals that are responsible for the connections between the nerves and the brain cells. And if those are being overproduced or underproduced, your motivation is going to be hit. And so that's going on because of stress. The other thing that's going on is not just the neurotransmitters, but the hormones. We know about serotonin, we know about dopamine. A lot of us do, at least. So serotonin is responsible for your stabilizing your happiness, your mood, your feelings of well-being. And when this hormone is in balance, your perception of joy is off, and so is your perception of motivation. So you might actually think you have some motivation, but you don't, because your perception is off. And so what is happening inside and what's happening outside is not quite the same. So dopamine, this is where this is the hormone that's responsible for pleasure and is responsible for reward. Now, when this one, the dopamine, when that gets a sudden spike, when you're stressed out and it gets a sudden spike, it also crashes really hard. And when it crashes really hard, that's when depression, sadness, all the darker feelings will start coming in because of that crash. And so we want to be careful and think of it kind of like a sugar crash. If you've ever felt a sugar crash, that's what your dopamine crash is doing. It's that really high and then so another thing that's going on during stress is your cortisol levels are increasing a lot. And when your cortisol is increasing, this causes exhaustion. And so, that's that whole thing when you're at, 20% or below of your battery, it's because the cortisol has caused that to happen and you're completely exhausted. I do want to mention that your hormones, your neurotransmitters, they're either produced or managed within your microbiome. So if you have an unhealthy gut, an unhealthy flora, it's not balanced. Some of that problem could be coming from your microbiome, could actually be causing your stress as well. So it could be causing that lack of motivation because the hormones aren't being balanced properly. So not only could stress be causing your lack of motivation, but so can your microbiome. So beware of that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I swear we're going to get back to the microbiome. I do love that area as well. And so I think we've answered the question. You do have the key to unlocking your motivation. If you do want to become more motivated, learning HeartMath techniques will help a lot because you do need to manage your stress as it's going on. If you don't believe it's stress that's causing it, then it could be your microbiome that's causing it. So either way, you do have the key and you need to learn how to manage that to get that motivation back. I would love to talk to you about it and see, which way is causing your lack of motivation, and talk about how we can improve that. So there is a link here, so go ahead and click on the link and get your free call with me to find out more. All right, well, this is Antoinette Engelke from Soaring to Source. It was amazing talking with you, and we will talk to you again next week. Thank you.